Okay, so this is the link that's in the assignment. It's the top link, not the second link. So I suppose it's somewhat interesting to just take this example. All right, so I'm going to go with 2018, I guess, and download this file. We can download files from GitHub by using this button right here. That's one way to do it. So you can see I've already, like, the parentheses one right here, parentheses two. I've already downloaded this file a couple times. I'm going to open this file up in my version of Excel is called LibreOffice Calc, or Libre, like it means free in either Latin or Spanish. But this is a little different than what Excel will show you. Like, I don't have Excel installed on my machine. You can also use Google Drive like this to play around with this, what I'm about to open up. You go to you hit the little button here, the bento button, and go to slides or sheets or some whatever it's called. There, not slides, but sheets. Slides is like the equivalent version of PowerPoint. So you could also open this up in here, make a spreadsheet, and you could type in some numbers and stuff like this. Um, or you could open up this same data in there. All right, I'm opening this up in Excel before I do anything in Visual Studio. Let me close that. It's not related to this Programming Fundamentals 2. It's a Fundamentals 1 assignment that I had open in Visual Studio just then. I'm opening this up because I want to clean up some of this data. And there's a job called ETL, extract, transform, load, that happens in databases, for one thing. And any data analytics, you extract data and you transform it and then you load it in. So what I'm doing right now is when I click the download button, that's somewhat similar to extraction, and I'm about to transform the data. Like ETL jobs, it's a known thing, and people who work in databases a lot, and anybody who works in data analytics probably also knows that acronym. So I don't care about this ID or the conversation ID, and I'm going to delete those columns so that the data will be a little nicer. And it's always, when you're doing data analytics, it is always a really good idea to actually look through your data set and think about it before you just go on doing a bunch of programming things. To look for like big gaps in the data, like if this when I scroll through it, like if we just delete that comment, that tweet right there, um, it's a good that's called a hole in the data. This is now it's not a hole anymore, but it's called holes in a data set, and it can make data unpleasant to work with. I'm just using Control Z to undo what I did. Okay. Um, and also we have an empty column right here, which is a waste. So, but now we know the total number of rows in our data is 20, it's almost 2,300 rows, which is quite a lot of data, relatively speaking. Um, but since we know how many rows are in this data, we could actually use a for loop instead of a while loop when we're reading the file. But a while loop is probably a better idea here. It's a better idea in some respects. I'm probably just going to use a while loop. So we have the tweet number, like this is clear what's going on here. This is the 0th tweet. This is the first tweet, second tweet, etc. 0th is kind of a weird thing to say, but it's a thing that mathematicians and physics people say. So I guess I'm most interested in the date column. The time co zone column isn't particularly interesting either, because it's all the same time zone. It's 0, so this is going to be a little simple in a way. The struct. Oh, but we've got more fields off to the right. So yeah, actually not language, English. And then this is exactly what I was talking about data being funny sometimes, and having to transform data as part of this ETL process. Because obviously Kathleen, I don't know, unless I'm unaware, Kathleen Wilson Thompson joined the Tesla board is not a language that I am aware of. UND, um, I also don't know what language UND is. Und. That's the word for and in German. There are some problems with this data set. It is quite imperfect, it seems. I'm just going to delete the language column. Hashtags. I'm going to delete this column by selecting it and deleting it. Okay, and I'm gonna pause the video for a minute or pause the recording for a minute and clean this data up a little bit. Okay, so once again I'm in basically Excel. Excel has similar buttons that you can click here. Um, I highlighted the field names, so date, the actual tweet that was made, like at Ben75 blah blah blah. Thanks Tesla owners in China. Okay. And then another tweet excited to have Larry Ellison and ampersand. What is the and AMP? Not sure what's going on there. Um, Photos. So like there's an empty square brackets here, so that kind of indicates an empty array, perhaps. Um, it depends. I don't know, like who. Another really good thing to know is who made this data set. Um, Is it legitimate? Did this person make it? Where did they get it from? So many questions to ask when you do data analytics, but just to demonstrate that this actually works, we have the purpose of it, this person, Elon Musk, like put a link to an image in their tweet. All right. So if we paste that, we get an image of some rocket shippy thing. Okay, maybe it's not a rocket ship. I don't know, but maybe it's kind of interesting to keep this photos field in here as well. I mean, it certainly is from a certain perspective. Here's another photo, and videos are working similarly. Now, it's definitely worth noting that there is a comma right here because these are comma separated fields. Uh, yeah, so this is a CSV file. Let me show what I'm talking about. Let's see, I think I put this in my downloads folder. Yeah, so it's a CSV file, and if we open with Notepad instead, it's going to be a lot of stuff. But if you notice, it's hard to read this because there's so much data here. But we got comma ID, comma conversation ID created at, um, and here we go, comma, Ben 7566677, and then there's that tweet that we saw earlier. And we get to the end of the tweet, and it says a comma, and then the language, English, and then an empty array, so there was no photo link in this one. So I'm just pointing out that the comma right there might be a real hiccup and a problem, and we have to clean this data. We have to transform it before we can load it into C++ memory. Um, so we got number of likes. This is actually set to false, so that I suppose means in this case that there were 0 likes on this, which is a little surprising considering how large some of the others are. And then we have to clean the data again, maybe. Like maybe we have to set false to 0 instead because this is an integer data type and that was a Boolean, so that is potentially problematic. And in anticipation of that, I'm actually going to trim this data set quite a lot because otherwise this could be a very painful and I mean it could be a quite a bit of work getting this to work correctly. I guess I'll get the first 50 rows of data, even that might be quite a lot, but I'm gonna highlight and then go down, 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 down. Okay, and then we hit like 100,000 down there. Okay. Okay, so I just deleted a huge amount of data, like 2,000 rows worth of data. But now you guys are welcome to do this also, of course, but now the data is a little bit more manageable. There's still some messy stuff in here. So I'm going to come to Visual Studio and open up a new project and read that data in. Um, okay, so create a new project, console app, next. I'm gonna move this to my 1437 folder for fall 2025. I'll do this in the in-person one, although some people, of course, are watching this on the internet, taking the online version of this class. Uh, Musk, data and analytics. Again, please don't react strongly politically. That's not, I'm not choosing this for any particular reason other than the fact that this is a very recognizable name. Okay, so did we put it in the right place? I wasn't paying attention just then. Is it in the folder where I'm expecting it to be? 1437 in person. Yeah, it's good. So, all right. Um, let's at this point I could go right click and then add new item text like utility text file, and then I could say Musk tweets, and I could take all of this data right here, like all of it, and right click and copy and paste. But I would like to approach this in a different way to remind students of what an absolute file path is, if they don't know already or have never heard of it. I'm gonna get rid of these comments here, and we're going to use an input file stream and do what is called, we're gonna create an input file object, as it's called, open up parentheses, and if we want to use this, excuse me, there's no red squiggly right now. Like if I'd done this, there will be a red squiggly, namespace standard has no member, blah, blah, blah. It seems like there's not an error right now, and it's very misleading, but in order to use this, we're going to want to pound include file stream, f stream. And now if we open up parentheses, if you notice a tooltip popped up and it did not previously, like whenever I uncommented this, when I'm typing parentheses, you see some stuff here, but it's not that one of eight business, which refers to the constructor function overloads. Um, so now we get if I hit the down arrow, we see some good things. So file name. All right, so I can just type Musk tweets or whatever it is, .csv, but in fact let me rename that file and let's call it Musk tweets, and we'll keep it in the downloads folder actually. Musk tweets 2018, if we want to clarify that it's 2018. And it's going to be a CSV file right there. So notice that there are many different file types that are supported on my machine and other people's machines as well. Okay, we'll stick it in the downloads folder, and I'm going to copy that file name. And this is just a message that is a particularity of the software that I'm using. All right. So what did I name that file? I named it this .csv. And now an absolute file path means let's try to run this real quick. Let's try to read let's do a little safety check and say if not input file. This means if the input file was not able to be found. Let's return -1 so that we don't go any further in this. We don't go any further like with the lines of code down below, like do data processing here below. Okay. So we immediately do a return, and that will hop to the end of this function right here if we are not, that is, not able to find the input file. This not input file business looks a little bit confusing, and maybe you can say if not input file dot is open. That's a more verbose way to say this, but this is a common approach, and it's shorter to type. And once you get used to it, it's probably the better way to go. Probably. File not found error. I'm just using a little acronym for that. So maybe we do an else here. Standard cout smiley face. Uh, File was found. Smiley face. Smiley face. Okay. Um, yeah, so uh there we go. Let's see what happens. This is called a relative file path. All right, and it is problematic in this case. File not found error and the program exits with code -1 because I return -1 because evidently the file was not found. So if we specify an absolute file path, which is uh, this, it's similar to this. You go C colon backslash users slash work, et cetera, all the way down to wherever we are. In this case, we're in my work, uh, we're in my work user account, and we are in the downloads folder. So C colon double forward slash users. There's some very tricky business that happens if you only use a single forward slash, so don't do a single backslash, so don't do that. And I often use other a double forward slash, okay? Programmers, this is kind of a nightmare of programmers, the forward slash versus backslash and double versus single. All right, I think this should work. Downloads, and again, that's where that was. So let's see if we find the file now, because that'll be a good start, obviously, to reading in all the data. So the file was found. That's good. All right. Um, I'm actually going to delete this else just because I'm going to have a whole bunch of code inside of this else, like many lines. And it's a little, and I'll delete the file was found business as well. You might have a strong preference to put an else after an if, but if you have a return statement inside of an if like this, it's going to hop to the end and it will not execute any of this stuff right here. It's people have some passionate feelings about this, maybe like it leads to spaghetti code, but I guess this is okay. So let's make a loop and let's store in a string the all of the um, data in the file. So if we want to use a string, we should probably include string. There's no red squiggly right now, but that's okay. I mean, but still, it's a good idea to include string. All right, well, we are getting a line from the file and storing it in the string. We can print it to the terminal. This is stuff we should learn in Programming Fundamentals 1. All right, so it looks like a bunch of text appeared on the screen, and does it pretty much look right? Like the 10, does it look the same as this file I have over here? Uh, right there. I had, yeah, 50 rows, okay. And zero gravity was the last thing, roughly. Well, there were some things, let me go a little slow, not try to use my mouse. There were a few things after the zero gravity dealy, like the 27,745 likes or whatnot. All right. I'm gonna close that and let's see. We go all the way down to the bottom and it says acceleration of gravity 27,745. And yeah, people are almost always surprised to learn that Earth, and there's some funny business going on right there, the Greek letter gamma. This terminal actually only prints, interestingly, it recognizes web links like that right there. Um, but let's not worry so much about this funny business. It has to do with ASCII and Unicode characters. On Twitter, you can use Unicode, but in this terminal right here, I can't use ASCII unless I do some things, which I'm not going to get into right now. But it looks like we got all of the data. It's not particularly pleasant to look at. Like there's a bunch of text wrapping around because the line length is wrong. Excuse me, the length of some of these tweets are really long and it's wrapping around because there's not enough room on one line. I'm going to go ahead and make a little modification and pause this video on that subject. Okay, so of course, the goal of this program is to do some data analytics and like find the average number of retweets or something like this, or the average number of likes in this data set. But to begin with, maybe it's a good idea to just look at our output a little more. So one thing that we can do is put a few new lines between each line. And by line, I don't mean like a sentence in a tweet. I mean each line is going to be a row in the data set in this case, because whenever you say get line like this, it's going to get an entire row, which is this, all of this down to the number of likes. So if I actually copy that and open up Notepad real quick and paste it, um, that's going to be the content of a line. The zeroth tweet, the date that it was made, the tweet begins with the ats. Okay, and then there's some field with empty braces, and then there's a zero, which I forgot what that was. It was whether or not there's a video. So zero means false in this case. It gets set to zero in case, or this, there's some funny formatting. Like whoever made the data set, like it was imperfect. Maybe I shouldn't have chosen this data set. That square brackets and a zero also mean the same thing, presumably, which is that there was no video linked in the tweet. All right, so that is an entire line. Obviously, you might say that is not a line because it wraps that 2789 wraps around down to the bottom. But if you zoom out, then it's a line. Okay. Um, but if we put a few new lines between each, it'll be more apparent to us that there's separation. Yeah. So yeah, now it's looking a bit better in a way. So I don't really care about formatting this really nicely or anything, but it's just easier to read. We're getting down to 48. Okay. Thought I said 50, but okay. I understand why it's 48 and not 50 because we started at zero and yeah, and there's a top row. By that I mean one of these rows is it's called the column headers. So one of the rows is including date, tweet, uh, photos, video, number of likes. All right. So on that subject, I am planning in a minute here to just do this, like delete, so that we're only looking at the data and not the sort of metadata. But maybe we go ahead and make a little struct here, a structure. We can come up above main and say struct uh, tweet. Do we need to say Musk tweet? No, not necessarily, because this could be anybody's tweets. So the structure of a tweet, there's a date, and maybe we should make these are numbers. Obviously, each of these is numbers, but they're connected by dashes and a colon. So maybe we should make it a string. Maybe that's a really kind of controversial thing that I just said, but I'm going to do it anyways. We'll make the date a tweet. There is a specific uh, data type called a date in SQL, for instance. But the tweet is definitely a string, right? Standard string tweet. Now we got tweet and tweet. We got a struct called tweet, and a member variable named tweet, a member of the struct. So maybe we could clarify maybe we should clarify that this is a tweet record to distinguish it between the tweet itself. And we have photos, which is, let's see, photos, and it's a string also. So is video, and the number of likes is an integer. So string photo link. Let's like say photo link instead, I suppose, because that's what they are if it exists. These are angle. The square brackets again just indicates it's like an empty array, sort of. You could attach multiple. I'm saying array because you could attach multiple photos to a tweet. All right, now video. Yeah, video link, same thing, same data type. And finally, number of likes. And likes is a pretty clear variable name, I suppose, without being more verbose. All right, so now that we've got this, I suppose it's a decent idea to come over to the CSV file and just delete that row and save it. And yeah, save it. And now, well, previously when we ran this program, we were seeing that top row, but this time we should not because I just deleted it. So do we see? Yeah, we don't. The first thing we see is 0. It's not uh, tweet number, the date of the tweet itself, and then video link and photo link and number of likes. Okay. All right. So, um, the next thing we perhaps want to do is come to what I linked, which is I linked a few things here in the description, but I'm talking about this thing right here. So I have something called utils.cpp, and I have a function. I have a few functions here, but one is called split record with string stream. I'm going to copy that function definition, and I suppose I will just put it up here. In order to use vector, we need pound include vector, and in order to use string stream, this thing, we need to pound include s string. I'm just making these alphabetized. Okay, so what is this going to do? We have a thing called a delimiter, and in the case of a CSV file, the delimiter is a comma. All right, so we're returning a vector of strings, and let's maybe we say and I'm gonna put a breakpoint right there and call the get, what did I call it? Split record with string stream, and it expects a record, which is a string and a character. So this thing called a delimiter is a really good thing to know about as a programmer, probably. It's likely. So our delimiter is a comma here. And what this means is, in case I haven't already made it clear, is there it is. It's a different file name, but that's okay. Um, each of these fields, like the oh, this is the much less clean version. You know, here's the username field, and here's a comma, and then here's the tweet. I suppose Elon Musk the second. No, that's like the name of the person. But each of these, you see all the commas in here, and this means like the date is separated from the username by a comma, for instance. All right. Look up CSV files if that's not yet clear. It's a good thing to look up. Okay, so we got split record and we want to return that to something. So we will say auto split record, I suppose. And if we run this, and then close that disassembly, that's from something I was playing with earlier. As you can see, the size is equal to 6. The size of that array is equal to 6. And if you notice, if I go back and open up, oh, that'll do actually, the terminals view. One field and then a comma, another field, which is the time. This is the tweet number, like tweet number 0, the first tweet he made in 2018. This is the date that he made it. Now, obviously, that looks funny because this is December 30th, 2018. So did he not make any tweets in January? 11 months before. I'm not sure what's going on there, but um, it's not, I didn't make the data set. Okay, now we have another comma, and this is the tweet itself. Okay, and it goes all the way to there. And then we had no photo link and no video link and the number of likes. So how many fields is that? It's one, two, and then three, and four, and five commas. So six fields. I don't want to count them over again, but there's six. And if we do a little side by side, or we move this out of the way down a bit and open this guy up, it says 0, 2018, bin 757, square brackets, 0, 2789. So I hope it should be clear at this point that what I'm looking at right here, whenever I hover over this variable in debug mode, running with debugging enabled, what we're getting is this function, it splits up the entire row into the different fields. So we are getting close to what we want right there. Except there's one problem, which is this function returns a vector of strings. I'm not going to try to explain this function. Let's just treat it like a black box. But this is an integer, and what we're returning is a string, which is the number of likes, like this, like the 2,316 likes. Okay, so there is a function that we can use. I'm going to delete that because it doesn't make any sense if you look at it afterwards, after listening to me say that. There's a function we can use to get that last field transformed into an integer. It's called string to integer. STOI is how it's abbreviated. String to integer, it's in the string header file in the standard namespace. So you open up parentheses, and if you notice string, it's a wide string actually, but this is the regular string. Uh, Now there are three arguments to this function, but the last two are automatic. They're automatically initialized here. So we don't need to supply three arguments. We just need to supply one. And it is going to be the last thing in the split record, which in this case is, I think, index 4 or 5. But we could also say split record dot size -1, I think. We'll just see how that goes. And so we're converting that to an integer, but let's see. Let me just make a little variable here, and we'll say int number of likes is equal to that, and we'll see what the number of likes gets set to. All right, let's close that and run the program again. And number of likes gets set correctly to 2789, and that's good. It's an integer. Now, if instead I had just said like automatic type deduction and likes is equal to the split record at that position without any integer conversion, string to integer, STOI, string to integer. If we do this like this and I use automatic type deduction, and stop the program and rerun it, we will see something different when I hover on this. And it doesn't, a lot of the time when you use auto, it'll automatically display what the data type is when you put your mouse over it, but that's not going to work in this case, I think. All right. All right, so do you see a difference here? This says double quote 2789, all right? So that is the string of the numbers 2789 joined together. It's not 2789, it's the string. So that is why I did this. And finally, or next, we need to make a tweet record. Okay. Tweet record. Tweet record. Or maybe we say the current record. Okay. Is equal to, and there are a few ways we could do this. The most painful way, I guess, is maybe also the most easy to understand. So maybe it's good for us to see it this way. Split record, it's going to be hard coded, as people say. So it will only work for this type of tweet record. And if you have an additional field like the number of retweets, for instance, this code is going to break, so it's called fragile code. But I'm doing it this way not because it's the best way to do it, but um, maybe because it's easiest to understand. Uh, it's an interesting error. Oh, wow, that's nice. It automatically detected that for me. Um, Hopefully it's somewhat clear what just happened there. Why is the red squiggly appearing? Because the fourth, rather the fifth, if you want to say it that way, we start counting at zero in programming. The fifth field is an integer. Yeah, one, two, three, four, five. So we need to call stui on it, string to integer. Again, this is not a super beautiful way to write this code or a super powerful general way to do it, but let's just see if it creates the current record. Okay. And once again, I'll set a breakpoint. I'm just making this up. Like if you set a breakpoint on an empty brace like this, uh, things don't work as well. So I'll just leave it at that. I'm gonna do that and I'll delete it in just a second. Okay, so yeah, we don't need that anymore. Right. And I was demonstrating the string versus integer business. We don't need either of these things anymore. I was keeping track of the number of loop counts. We don't really need that. I was thinking about doing things a little differently. I'm just going to go ahead and delete it so it's not cluttering anything up. All right. So I think if we run now, invalid string to integer argument. Let's see. Yeah, that's a tricky error there. Did the program? Hmm, still. Okay, let's set a breakpoint right before that problem occurred. Okay, split record at index 4 is index 4 is equal to the string 0. So that's I was expecting to see a word like alpha appear here, and that would generate that error because you can't convert alpha to a number. Interesting. I might need to pause the video for a minute. Pause the recording. Okay, yeah, I screwed something up here. If you let's see. If you let's comment this out so that the program runs. It's not going to run correctly, but we'll set the breakpoint right before that error got thrown, and it will be reminded of what happened by looking at the output. So this first column here, the first field, I forgot to put it up here. Maybe some of the more observant people watching this video actually noticed that when I was typing it, like 20 minutes ago, maybe. But that's an integer and it's the tweet number. Yeah. So int tweet number. I had sort of an off by one error because I had an off by one error basically, a type of off by one error. And whenever I tried to convert, now this needs to be converted to an integer. And whenever I called stoi on the double quote 0, it was expecting it to be a string. All right, so let's go std string to integer on that guy. And then the second, third, the and I'm also screwing up because of starting counting at 0 versus 1. But second, third, fourth fields should all be strings, so we don't need to convert them. So second, third, fourth, and the fifth is a string, but the sixth is needs to be converted to an integer. So yeah, this is wrong because this guy, the split record at index 4 is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, the video length, so it needs to be an integer. We don't want to convert it to a string. That's why that red squiggly is occurring. But the um, fifth index split record on index 5 is going to generate an error because it needs to be an integer. Let me stop this. So cannot convert from a string to an integer. So we call stoi. You can convert from a integer, from a string to an integer. You just have to call a function to do it for you. It won't happen implicitly, is a way of saying it. All right, so I think now we should get to the int a. Nope. Okay. Hmm. Well, that's exciting. Okay, what is split record at index 5? It is 2789. And if we step, okay. So I think it's happening a little later. It's not happening in the first row of data, it's happening later that that exception is getting thrown. So I'm gonna pause this video and maybe come back to it in a couple hours. I'm trying to cram this video in before one of my classes, and my classes is happening pretty soon. So I'm just gonna stop this recording for now and come back to it later.